Myself, Dr. Vasant Satpute, Principal of SRTMU Pudkar College, Sonpet. Hello friends. As far as literary theory and criticism is concerned, I am dealing with the introduction to literary criticism in this first semester. The very first critic that we are going to see is Plato, the Greek master. Now, as far as all the critics are concerned, they are related to their work to the literary criticism is concerned. Now, as far as BA third year semester 5th paper 10th is concerned, we do have 4 units. The very first unit deals with the Greek masters, and the very first critic that we have for our study is Plato. Now, while seeing the very objectives of this paper, since this is the beginning of the 3rd year, all of you are very new to this paper. Till now, you have seen the papers or the subjects related to poetry, related to prose, novel, etc. But you haven't been introduced with the literary criticism. So the very objective of this paper is to introduce students to the various schools of criticism right from the classical times to the present. One of the main aim of this paper is to acquaint them with major critical concepts, theories, movements and approaches to literature. Again, to develop critical sensibility of the students and provide insight for analysis and interpretation of literary works. Now, Plato and Aristotle are called as the Greek masters. They have taken a lot from the Greek tradition. Plato belongs to the 427 to 348 BC, whereas the period of Aristotle was 384 BC to 322 BC. Now, as far as the Horace's period is just concerned, it is told that this is something near about 65 to 8 BC just concerned, but the exact one is unknown. Now, while seeing about the Plato, his age was the age of critical inquiry. Everything was being asked, being inquired. If this is so, why this is so? And therefore, the questions were being raised about the existence of the poetry as well. In his very popular book Dialogues, he has discussed all these things. Since Plato is the disciple to the Socrates, the questions raised by Plato and the answers given by Socrates, they are being incorporated in a book, and that is called as the Dialogues. The philosophical such type of dialogues, the examples are Ion, Cratylus, Protagoras, Symposium, Republic, Phaedrus and Laws. Now, what is the crux of his writing? What is the main theme of his writing? And the Plato is very popular as far as his theory of imitation is concerned. His theory of idea is just concerned. He says that ideas are the ultimate reality, and the things take their shape as they are seen in their ideas. And therefore, he goes on telling that poetry is twice removed from reality. He is of the opinion that idea of everything is original. The idea of the tree, the idea of this world, that is going to be the real one, original one. And the things that take a shape from that ideas are going to be the copy of the copy, shadow of the shadow, or the twice removed from the reality. Now, on these grounds, Plato goes on attacking the poetry. He is of the opinion that poetry is twice removed from reality, and therefore whatever that is not real, why the public should adopt that one? Why we should keep it as a model one. And therefore poetry is being attacked by this man. The very first ground is poetic inspiration. The poets are the inspired ones. They are being, since inspiration is the momentary one, the created work of art or the composed work of art cannot be considered as the product of a deep thinking. And therefore, since the inspirations are momentary one, poetry is going to be like that one. And so it should not be accepted by the public or the readers. Again, he says that the poetry has got the non-moral character. Means whatever being shown in the literature, that is in poetry or drama, which is again is the form of poetry, it is shown that there is a triumph of voice and the virtue is in difficulty. So that non-moral character again is not the safe guideline for the civics. Again, on intellectual grounds, he has attacked the poetry. Nothing important, nothing moral, nothing philosophical is being expressed by the poetry, and so poetry should not be considered as the piece of philosophy or the intellectual one. Again, on the emotional appeal. The emotional appeal of the poetry is such that instead of appealing to the reason, poetry appeals to the human emotions. And therefore, in the state of emotions, whatever the human beings do, it is not guaranteed that they are going to do it in a very right perspective. And so, emotional appeal again is not proper to the human beings. Then he goes on telling the very functions of the poetry. He says that to please and to teach, these are the two prime objectives. This can be the two prime objectives of the poetry. No doubt the prime object is the pleasure, but not its ultimate objective. And therefore, he says that art without moral is not real art. Means it must teach something to the society. It must be moral. And therefore, he says that truth is the test of a real poetry. Now, after poetry, he goes on commenting on the drama. He says that it's appeal to baser instincts basically. Now, he talks about the effects of impersonation. Basically, drama is to be enacted on the stage, and that continuous acting results in harmful effects in personality. If a person is doing the role of a coward or the knaves or the criminals, the day in his life comes that he begins to behave in the same fashion as the coward is in real life, as the criminals are in the real life, or as the knaves are in the real life. This is the effect of that impersonation, continuous effect of that continuous action being done by the person or that hero is just concerned. So, this baser appeal to the baser instincts is not going to be the safe guideline for the public. Then he goes on talking about the tragic and comic pleasure. He says that what is it in a painful seal that pleases us all? Why should we go to theatre? Why should we go to the tragedy to see the movie which is being tragic when is just concerned? And so, we love the characters and therefore we love that movie in fact. So, this is something small as far as the Plato is just concerned. We must remember that Plato is a little bit pragmatic, he is a practical, and so he goes on talking the language of banishing the poets. He says that in his ideal state, poets are to be banished. They are to be rewarded, no doubt, but they are to be banished. It does mean that those poets who are abusing the poetry, they must have been banished from the ideal state of the republic is just concerned. Thank you very much.